In this episode, we're going to talk about shell commands, how to execute commands, what is the basic design of commands. All of this will be covered in this episode. So the shell command is, a command or a task you want to complete inside the shell, and it's made up of three things. The command, which is the action you want to do, whether it's copy, add a user, manage the firewall, whatever it is that you want to do. That's the command. Options are additional inputs you can provide to the command, such as I want to copy, but I also want to retain the properties of the file that I'm copying. Or I want to add a user, but I want to also identify as an input when the user account should expire, or what the password is, or anything that you can add optionally to a command to modify certain behaviors of the command itself. In this case, ls is our command used to list files and folders inside the command line so you can see what you're working with. The -l will modify the behavior of the command and actually, instead of just showing you a list, it formats it in a certain way. And an argument is where the command should be executing. Think about a ping command. A ping command will find out if a server is online or if they're responding to you, typically lets you know if your internet or network settings are configured properly. Well, without knowing a website to ping, such as the popular ping google.com or something, pinging a popular website or a server, without that argument which is google.com, the ping command doesn't really have the mandatory or necessary input in order to execute. So again, certain commands require arguments as input, and certain commands also can optionally have additional input in the form of options. So in this command, for example, the argument is the folder etc. This is our command, and the command, the ls command, will execute against this folder etc, listing you everything in that folder, and the -l will simply format the way that the list command works and format really the output of the command. This is all how commands are going to be executed and designed. A lot of utilities as well are designed in a similar way. Options may carry a different name, such as the switches you use for a command, but the functioning is the same in that the options are simply going to modify the behavior of the command and maybe modify the output you see as the user. So to summarize, what we've talked about and what we're going to show you further in the lab is how a command is put together. The command has three different components, which is the command itself, the options you can add to the command, and an argument, meaning where the command should be executed. Stay tuned where we show in the lab how to design and execute these shell commands inside Linux. Hi, in this lab we will be discussing how to issue commands inside the command line shell. So before I start, I'm going to go ahead and open up the terminal. And here I can just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see the screen a little bit easier, and then we'll begin our discussion. So commands in the shell are composed of three different components, which is the command itself, the argument, and any potential list of options. All right, so there's the command, the argument, and any potential list of options. So the command could be something like ls. ls means list, and here you can see here is the result of the command. However, if I add an argument to it, I can say ls/tmp. So now my my argument is changed. So instead of ls command executing on whatever directory I'm in, which happens to be the home directory, it is executing the command against an argument. So in this case, this ls command is actually executing against the /tmp location. So that's the difference between just a command and commands with arguments. Some commands need arguments in order to work. So if I type ID, sometimes I can just type ID, and here is my ID as the administrator. It shows me my user ID, my group ID, what groups I'm in, and the context that I'm using. However, if I type a command such as ping, again, you're going to see that, hey, this command does not work until you provide an argument. So here, let's do that. Let's provide an argument called ping google.com, and here we can see the command is working. It's actually pinging Google with some data. All right, so that's the difference between just commands and commands with arguments. It's like ls versus ls, and then some file location to give you something else, right? I'm looking at something else. Now, options are a way of modifying the output of the command. So again, we have a command such as ls/tmp. Now, how about this time I type ls/tmp and I add in option -l. And -l, simply what it means is long form. So instead of now just a list like above, now we have the permissions, we have the ownership, we have the date and the time along with the file name. So it gives a long form listing with -l. We can also do ls, for example, just ls is showing this. If I do ls -a, you can see now it's also showing, these are called hidden files. So you cannot see hidden files unless you actually modify the command with a specific option. So hopefully you get the idea of how to run commands inside the shell. You simply type a command and press enter, and how to run a command against some argument. So I can say, hey, I'm actually only wanting to look inside /boot here as an example, and here are the files in there. And I can, again, modify it even more. I can say /boot, but hey, I want to see a long form listing sorted by time in reverse order. So LTR, and you can see it's sorted by time in reverse order. All right, so this is how you will design and execute commands inside the shell. So you'll have to remember there's the command itself, the argument, and options. With that being said, I will conclude my lab here. I encourage you to practice with all the commands and look at different types of ways you can execute the command with different arguments and what it all does. For now, I'll close out this lab. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.